I want to talk to you about touch your audience. Once you feel them and you know where they are, your job as a presenter is to touch that audience. And what I mean by that is you're going to have to build a bridge to those individuals. Once you have scanned the room, you've prepared yourself, you figured out where they are and what's happening with them, you realize what time of day it is and who they are and where they are, then you have to build a bridge to them, and that is your job. Your job is to use all of your skill and all of your talent and all of your ability to use vocabulary, to use illustrations, to use all sorts of things so that you can connect with that individual. It does no good to know where you are if I'm not going to touch you. The whole point of being in front of you is that at some point in the midst of our presentation, I'm going to say something, I'm going to present something, I'm going to use an illustration that is going to meet you where you are. And if you're talking about walking into a corporate office, you're going to have the ability to be able to touch those individuals, because that's the buy-in. Until they feel you. See, first you were feeling them, but now they have to feel you. They have to feel your passion about it. They have to feel your conviction about it. And you're going to have to, this is why I said to you that's important that you broaden yourself. The information that you read, the things that you learn, all those things are going to be necessary so that you're not limited to just using certain kinds of illustrations and certain kinds of examples when you get ready to say something. If you're going to walk into a corporate setting, you need to be comfortable with talking to people who are of different nationalities and different races, which means you may have to do some research and learn some things about their culture. You may have to, for example, I was doing a study and doing some research on this particular lesson, and they were talking about how the challenging thing with women is women talking in front of other women produces great anxiety for women. But they're much, much, much more comfortable with talking in a room full of men. By the same token, men are much more comfortable walking into a room full of men. You know why? I feel you. I feel you. And when I get ready to use illustrations that men can relate to, I can do that very easily because I am a man. Same thing with women. So when we put you in a situation where there's a mixed crowd, you're going to have to develop the ability to be able to touch each gender, both genders. You're going to have to develop the ability to not just talk to church folks, but to corporate individuals. And it's going to be important to you. Sometimes some of us excel when it comes to corporate situations, but we don't excel when it comes to maybe spiritual things. Isn't it frustrating that you can go to your vice president and make presentations that wow an audience and cause you to get raises, but then when it's time to go into maybe your Sunday school class, you totally flub it? Isn't that frustrating? Isn't it frustrating? Don't you walk away saying, now I know I can do better than this. I know better than this. I know more information. I've studied this for 8, 9, 10 years. I do this every day for my job. I get paid to make presentations, and yet I can't make a presentation maybe in front of my leading ladies class or to my first lady or to the leader of my auxiliary. It's frustrating. But one of the things that will help you with that is being able to walk into any setting and be able to touch them. Broadening yourself and bringing illustrations in that anybody and everybody can relate to. Look at somebody and say, touch me. Even in a room like this, it's important that if you're going to move us, that you be able to touch me. Have you ever been in a situation where the presenter, everything they said was true, everything they said was right, everything they said was right on the money, but it didn't touch you? The presenter's job is to make sure he brings out everything but the kitchen sink. To make sure that he touches you. It's building a bridge to your audience. It's building a rapport. It's developing a relationship with them, and you only have a few minutes to do it. You don't have the luxury of having, say, 10, 15 years to build a relationship with an audience. You have about 5 minutes. You have about 5, maybe 10 minutes for them to decide whether you know what you're talking about, whether they want to hear you, whether they're somebody that's worth listening to. You got about 5 minutes. So that means, especially if you walk into a situation where you haven't had the luxury of building, this is not your family reunion. This may be your corporate office. This may be a speaking engagement that you've been called into. But your job is to build a bridge to those individuals and touch them. Look at my son, touch me. That means you have to find some things that they can relate to. You have to use things that they can respond to. That means that you can't use illustrations or use examples that are way over their head. That means that you may have to tailor your vocabulary to fit the audience that you're speaking to. And yes, you have a vast and very a large vocabulary, and you are a walking Webster's dictionary, and you are adept at using words that nobody knows what you said. Sounded good. Very smart. But they'll have to go back and get a dictionary later and figure out what did you say. By the same token, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're talking too low to your audience, where you're using illustrations that my 5-year-old will relate to, where you're walking in saying things because it's very condescending, it's very disrespectful. It says that you haven't read your audience. It says that you think that I don't know anything. The vocabulary, so all those things have to fit, and you have to be smart. Your mind has to be doing mental gymnastics the whole time you're talking. The whole time you're talking, it's like walking into a room and you're pulling things off the shelf. I'll pull this, I'll pull this, I'll pull this, and all you're doing, even while I'm talking to you, I'm pulling things off the shelf in my mind. I'm pulling things that I can use, pulling things I can relate to, pulling things that I can use to articulate what I'm saying to you. It was very interesting when I was studying women's fears about public speaking, because when I did, I found out that they suggest, or some research has suggested, that in particular with women, that right during the early stages of adolescence, they begin to lose their ability or lose their confidence in being vocal and articulating their ideas. And I know that's not everybody in the room, but you would take a young woman who, as a young girl, who is very comfortable, very outspoken, very clearly saying the things that she thinks. You take a young baby girl and she says whatever she thinks. She knows what she wants. She tells you exactly what she wants. Right at that age of early adolescence, it starts changing. And for many women, they never come out of it. And so here we are, we have matriculated and we have grown into positions of authority and leadership. And the whole glass ceiling that you experience many times is because the people who are making decisions about you are saying that you don't have the upstairs ability because of your loss of ability to speak and say what you think. You have wonderful ideas. You have sharp ideas. The ladies in this room right here, I would dare to say I would put you in any corporate setting to run a company, a business, a church, or what have you. But the thing that makes it difficult to break the glass ceiling is that right during early adolescence, we started going through this little change in life. And now somebody who was used to saying whatever they think is suddenly uncomfortable with saying what they think. Then what I watch with women sometimes is they start, I said this last time, but I'm going to say it again. Have you ever noticed that men, we are so limited in our range of emotions sometimes that the only feeling that we're comfortable with is expressing anger. And everything comes out anger. If we're happy, we get mad. If we're hungry, we get mad. If we're tired, we get mad. If we get no sex, we get mad. Limited. Even if it's something that's very good, like your favorite team just won the championship, we express it by getting mad. We break stuff. I told you my team was going to win. And it becomes challenging for us to connect with any audience many times. And you see people like Bishop Jakes and different other speakers who can overcome all those various barriers. But for many men, it becomes difficult to touch on different levels because we're so limited in how we can express. One of the things I want to challenge you as God begins to elevate you and use you and move you into positions of opportunity is don't adopt our ways. God has made you uniquely with the ability to feel and sense. You can walk into a room like this and you can sense things about people. You can sense things about women instinctively. You don't even know why you feel the way you do about them, but you instinctively can feel that. That's an advantage. Because when you walk in to make a presentation, don't just deny yourself the fact that you are a woman. Your femininity can be a weapon. Don't think that because you are walking into a corporate setting with blue suits and yellow ties that you have to change into a man to do what you do. I told you that public speaking is an art, and because it is an art, it is a skill that can be developed. You were made and designed uniquely to do and feel the things that you do. You are proud and should be proud that God has made you a woman, and you don't have to change your gender just to fit into the corporate world. You don't have to change your gender to move into a pastoral position. You don't have to change your position or change your femininity. And one of the things that I see a lot of women make is, one of the mistakes they make is they try to be us to fit in with us. And you don't have to be us. In fact, you have a great advantage to be able to walk in and be able to see. We got to think about it and pray about it and look around and smile at people and go off in a corner and get it together. You ladies can walk into a room and you're like an antenna. You're like that FM radio that walks into this room and you feel the wavelength of this room. And that thing is something that you uniquely have, and you should use it to your advantage. You walk into a room full of men and they're in there trying to feel them out and say, let's go play golf and let's have lunch. And they're doing all these things to try to feel out the partner or the relationship that they're building. But you can walk into that situation instantly and know whether or not you should do business with that person. That's a huge advantage. That's a huge advantage. Being able to pull illustrations, to know when to hold them and when to fold them, when to be silent, when to smile, when to step back, when to speak up. All those things that make those unique nuances that make you a woman can be used to your advantage. Look at somebody and say, touch me now. Touch me now. Touch me now. Touch me now. When you get up to make your presentation to your vice president or to your president or to your boss, they will give you the promotion. They will give you the opportunity and not really know why. You just worked them. They've been worked and they don't even know why. All of a sudden they're offering you the promotion. Here you go. I loved your presentation. I love how you made us smile and laugh. I love what you said. And I wasn't even thinking about it, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the top level VP position. But you can't do that if you don't touch me. You can't do that if you're trying to be a mirror image of me. You can't do that if you don't have the ability to establish a rhythm and a dance with me. Yes, I think I will use that. One of the things that I was sharing with some women in another setting was that many of the things, the unique nuances that you as women have, that when you were unsaved and when you were walking according to the flesh, you used those nuances in a negative way. You knew how to get what you wanted. And some of our mothers taught you use what you have to get what you want. And we knew how to get what we wanted out of any man, out of any situation. We knew how to get what we needed. And then we gave our life to Christ. And God began to take all those unique nuances, and he didn't take it from you. He just sanctified it. And so you used to know how to work a sugar daddy, for example, and you used to know how to work your natural daddy and get what you want. You was daddy's little girl, and you knew just what to say and how to say it and when to do it. And your brother was frustrated because he couldn't figure out how you could get stuff that he couldn't get. But you know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to speak up, when to say something. And now that you've been sanctified, God wants to use those same abilities and skills, but he wants us sanctified for his glory. We need women of God. We need women of integrity. We need women who have morals and values to be in positions of leadership and influence. We need individuals and ladies like yourself who can walk in with all the information, armed with all the information that you have, and walk into that setting, whether it's a church setting or a corporate setting, or whether it's a fifth grade Sunday school class, and can use all that information to the glory of God. That's why we're here. Look at somebody and say, you're God's leading ladies. You are a leader.